Welcome back to the breakdown. Today we're going to be diving into a new series on how does reporting work. Now reporting is very complicated. There's a lot that goes into it that really doesn't show up when you look at the final product of a story online and print or maybe on TV and radio, for example. There's a lot that goes into being a really good reporter and doing your job right. And I think most people don't understand that, don't really know what goes into it. This has created a world where many people don't trust reporters because I don't think they fully understand how it works. And honestly, I think some reporters have actually hurt the way reporters are perceived. So I'm kind of hoping that this series of videos will explain how reporting works, how people better understand reporting and better understand what's good reporting, what's bad reporting, and why all reporters are not bad people. Now, I was a reporter for many years. Ended up owning my own company, grew it into a very large news organization, been cited by pretty much every major news organization out there, have been on news, TV, all kinds of different places as an expert source on the world of technology in particular as a reporter. And my content's been featured and cited on USA Today, Wall Street Journal, New York Times, so many other big names out there. Kind of think I've earned the right to kind of talk a little bit about how this works. Now that I've sold my business, I'm not really beholden to try to keep any of these secrets. So let's dive into it. Let's talk about why reporters do what they do, starting off with something that came up. Recently there was a football coach that got fired because his emails leaked. And in those emails were rather unsavory comments and statements he had made that resulted in him losing his job. But what else was in there was the fact that he had received copies of unpublished news stories from reporters asking for comments or if anything needs to be changed. So why? Why do reporters do that? We're going to dive into it. Are reporters secretly working with companies and people they cover to give them unfair, favorable coverage? And is this proof that kind of things happen? We're going to explain why you do that and if reporters are secretly working with different companies and different people out there. First though, do me a big favor. Help us grow this channel. Hit that subscribe button, hit that thumbs up. It really does help us because it lets YouTube know you enjoy what we do here. Hopefully we can help you learn something new. All right, let's dive into it. Why do reporters send unpublished copies of news stories? Now, first of all, there's a few different ways this happens. You could send an entire copy of the story, ask for comment on it. Often, I think what most reporters do is they send segments of a story or the general synopsis of it to companies and people for comment before it gets published. There's a few reasons to do that. Number one, you do that because you want them to give you a quote for it, right? Hey, I'm about to release a story. Would you like to comment on this? I'd love to have a quote from you in the story before it goes live. That's pretty common base and it makes sense. It's how most stories get quotes from companies and different people related to the story they're going to go live on. Sometimes you can do that, sometimes you can't. Sometimes it's big breaking news and you got to add the quotes later. You just got to rush it out. If you don't rush it out, somebody's going to beat you to it. But there definitely are a desire to give companies and people an opportunity to comment because reporting is definitely a big I scratch your back, you scratch my back arrangement. For example, many companies have an embargo list and it's really great to be a reporter and get on the embargo list because that gives you access to news before it comes out for new products, new features, and more. So you definitely want to maintain a good relationship. And if you got a story that's coming out that's maybe not the most flattering story for that company, you definitely do want to give them an opportunity to say, hey Luke, yeah, that's happening, but here's why it's happening, or we apologize, this is actually an error, we're working to fix on it, whatever. You definitely often want to give them an opportunity to do that either before or after because you do want to maintain a relationship because that relationship allows you to get early access to news from them and to get them to keep talking to you. I have, over the years of my career, burned bridges with companies who would never reply to my emails because they didn't like what I said about them in writing. Doesn't mean I didn't keep saying tough things about companies, but does mean I give them an opportunity to comment. And sometimes they'll take it, sometimes they won't. Sometimes they get really upset. But you kind of want to have a good working relationship with these people as much as possible. And that's where often they attempt to send them copies and give them the opportunity to correct any errors or to correct any statements I made. Especially when I would do interviews either online, through the phone, through Zoom, or in person, I would often, after the interview, reach back out and say, hey, here's what I wrote down for what you said in a statement. Would you like to comment on that? I want to make sure I didn't take it out of context or mishear you when you were talking. And I often would do that, especially if it was a verbal or online or whatever interview, because it's very easy to misquote somebody by accident. And you don't want to do that. Misquoting hurts your reputation, and taking somebody out of context is definitely not something you want to do as a reporter. So I would often do that. Now, are there reporters who are not good eggs and are deliberately maybe working out there and not being a completely unbiased news organization? Yeah, that happens. But I don't think the sending emails out to say, hey, I got big breaking news. I've been notified that you've changed this, done that, or doing a price hike, whatever. We got a story going live in an hour on this. Would you like to comment on it? We would love to have something from you in the story for our readers. And that's pretty basic. That's a job of a PR agent for a company, to respond to people like me and go out there and say, hey, Luke's got a story going live on us in 15 minutes. We need to get him to some type of statement. That's their job. Often PR staff are empowered to make official statements on behalf of the company without the need to go bother the CEO, the executive officer, or whoever it may be out there that also needs a comment. You know, sometimes they'll say a generic, hey, here's the statement, please credit it to XYZ company. I'll get you a more specific quote from a executive or something very soon. That's pretty typical. But if you don't reach out, you can't get the comments, which really do help stories. People really do like it. But I do understand people's complaints. It does appear when you say, hey, I gave XYZ company early access to this story. Hey, that sounds like you're giving them unfair attention. Now, I have repeatedly been asked to spike stories, not post them and stuff. Hey, you're taking that completely out of context. Would you not post that? That's not correct. Sometimes I did. I said, hey, okay, so I got this wrong. Tell me, where did I get it wrong? Let me correct it. Let me fix it. Give me your argument. Sometimes they, were able to say, hey, yeah, no, that email went out a mistake. That really wasn't what it was meant to say, or there was a typo in that email. That stuff happens. I'm going to work with it. Other times, they asked me to kill stories I didn't because, hey, you know what? You didn't give me a good enough reason to. Yeah, okay. So you sent an email, there was a typo in it, mislisted the price on it. You sent a follow-up email to all your customers and corrected it. You know what? That happens. Human error happens. You don't need to run a big story about, hey, XYZ company claimed that their price was going up $10 and then backed off on it. Well, no, they just had a human error. Big deal. Not necessarily worth a big story. But often, though, news companies will lie to reporters, will try to intimidate them into dropping coverage. And that's where you got to stand tough. And that's why I burned bridges with companies. I published many stories in my career that companies didn't like. Hey, guess what? You're raising your product price and you pushed out a broken app to different devices. I'm covering that. And I'm calling it a price hike. I can't tell you how many times there's been a price hike on a service. Companies would really push me, hey, would you not use the words price hike? Pricing change or something like that. I'm like, no, it's a price hike. You raised the price. I'm calling it a price hike. I don't care you don't like it. When the price goes up, it's a price hike. I always remember one particular company trying to argue, well, it's really not a price hike, Luke. It's a end of our promotional offer. I said, well, where did it say that was a promotional pricing or a promotional offer in your marketing for that pricing when it launched? And they say, well, it didn't really say it, but it was a promotional offer that's come to an end, and that just means we're going to our regular price now. Yeah, right, And that's one of the reasons why one company stopped talking to me, because I called it a price hike, and they wanted me to refer to it as the end of a promotional offer. So those are the kind of things that happen when you're a reporter. So, it is good to maintain a good relationship with businesses, and sometimes that means you send them early looks at different stories. Either the whole thing, if it's justified, sometimes it's just a snippet. Maybe, hey, I'm using this quote from our phone call. Let me know if that is taken out of context or if I heard that wrong. You got a chance to look at this story goes live in an hour, in 2 hours, or whatever. Or I just send them a synopsis. Sometimes I would do that. Hey, I'm about to launch a story about your change of pricing on this product. We're working on the story now. Wanted to reach out, give you an opportunity to comment before it goes live. Could be live in as short as 10, 15 minutes. So that kind of stuff is very common. So, is there any particular things about reporters and what they do that you want me to cover? You know, with this story about the emails and reporters sending them copies of the stories, that raised a lot of red flags for people. So other red flags about being a reporter you want me to cover in this new series of videos. I'd love to hear from you. If you're new here and you stayed this long, do me a big favor. Hit that subscribe button, hit that thumbs up. I would really appreciate it because it lets YouTube know you enjoy what we do here. Hopefully we can help you learn something new about the world around you, and in particular about reporting. I'd love to hear from you if you enjoy this, and if you want to see more, I'd love to hear from you. All right, take care, be safe. I'll be back real soon with another video.